The N1, N2 toll roads, this is a media release I'm reading from now. No construction should go ahead without a full understanding of costs. City's interdict application against the construction of the N1, N2 Winelands Toll Highway project to be heard on the 16th and 17th of May. Project cannot go ahead, it says here, until full understanding of the costs are known. Read more below. I don't need to read more below because I've got three guests now. One is Wayne Duvenage in the Power Lunch Johannesburg studio. He's from Outer. And in Cape Town, to my left, I've got Andrew Cantor, the CIO of Future Growth. Welcome, Andrew. And also Brett Heron, who's the Mayoral Committee Member for Transport and Roads, City of Cape Town. Brett, thanks very much. Let's go to Joburg first of all, gentlemen, if we can. Wayne, please tell Cape Town about e-tolling.
It's an evil process, and do as much as you can to ensure that it doesn't become fait accompli, because certainly it's not in the best interest of society. It is extremely costly, and you're doing the right thing there by ensuring that this is a transparent process, because in Joburg it wasn't transparent, and what happens is the public don't trust it. It is far too costly, and it is far too onerous and cumbersome on society to implement, which is why you have this extreme backlash. And it doesn't matter how much they lower the rates now, the costs are far too high, and society is now empowered with the information to say this is not right for us, and we will not participate, and we will not come to the party. And that has a bigger and more detrimental impact on credit ratings and on society than if they go and rather have another look at it and say, let's find the most efficient way of doing it. And quite frankly, e-tolling is not the most efficient way to raise funds for road infrastructure upgrades.
Thank you very much for that, Wayne. Let's move now to my left, and we'll start alphabetically because it's Andrew Cantor, the CEO of Future Growth. What do you say to that?
I find the word an evil process to be extraordinary, actually. You talk about more efficient ways to raise funding, and what are those? Sure, you could raise it through a fuel levy or some other form of general fiscus, but then you're just creating another government bureaucracy. So you got the whole funding mechanism through project mechanism has worked for other companies domestically and globally. The user pays principle is clearly the right way to go globally. Government fiscal situations are stretched. You've got limited resources. You've got to build schools and hospitals. Well, roads are something you can get the users to pay for, run them efficiently, roll them out appropriately. And I'm not disputing that you need public discussion and discussion about the pricing. But once that price is fixed, it escalates by inflation and no more for 30 years. Sounds okay to me.
Okay, very good argument. Brett?
Yeah, Lindsay, I think the Cape Town case is a very complicated one. User pays is perhaps an acceptable approach, but it's not an equitable approach, and particularly in the South African context and in the Cape Town context, where we will have poor, mostly black users who are going to be paying to use a road that they've always used anyway. So we have a serious problem with the inequity of it. Those of us who live on the inside of that circle will not have to pay to use our roads, and we need to find another mechanism to fund road maintenance and capacity.
Andrew, you're responding to that by nodding your head.
No, I hear that, of course. I mean, there must be consultation. There must be discounts for regular users, for commuters. I'm not sure if you could have a social distinction of discounts, but certainly buses will pay one rate where there's 100 people on the bus or 60 people on the bus versus a private car where there's one person in the car.
Like so DSTV in a hotel, for example, that sort of thing.
Exactly. So I'm not disputing that the public consultation process is very important. You can set the toll rates too high at the inception, and you can really nail the consumer. I'm not sure what the process was in Gauteng, but clearly it was not adequate. So I agree that a more clear process in Cape Town is suitable. I just want to say, it isn't like the road is there, but we're talking about spending another 10.5 billion rand on the road, which means it's not the same road, it's a new road. It's an expanded road.
I think that's an interesting point, because the starting point has to be, do we need the roadworks? And from our own analysis, we don't need the extra capacity. And Sanral is maintaining the road as it is. In fact, on their website, they say the condition of the road is in a good condition. They publish a monthly analysis of the condition of those roads, and we say we don't need the capacity. This project didn't start because Sanral needed extra capacity or Cape Town needed extra capacity. It started because there was an unsolicited bid from a consortium. We went to Sanral in 1999 and said, we have a great idea, let's add capacity to these roads, and we'll toll them.
So what you're saying is that the Gauteng project, Wayne, we'll bring you in a moment, the Gauteng project is just being sort of forced upon us, even though our roads are better maintained because our province is better run by whomsoever it is. Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, the Sanral is maintaining those roads, that they are their roads, and they are maintaining them. And what I'm saying is that we don't need this extra capacity. The traffic flow volumes that were projected in 1999 have not materialized, and except for a 3.5 kilometer piece on the N2 where there is peak congestion in the mornings, we don't need this.
Okay, Wayne, you've been listening to this, no doubt, with a good deal of interest. What do you say to the two arguments from the Cape Town guests?
Well, I think the first one is, and why we say it's an evil process here in Joburg. I mean, we're not anti-tolling, we're not anti-paying for roads, and we're not anti-infrastructure upgrade. We need all of this. It's the process that has been applied, and if it isn't transparent, which it wasn't in this case, then it has there's a question mark around it and around the trust that's put in. But in this case here, the tender that was given out at 8.4 billion rand for 5 years, which costs about 1.5 billion rand a year. The road itself over 20 years with interest is 1.9 billion rand a year. Tolling works well in countries and in cities where it is implemented with absolute transparency and engagement with society at the right costs and low administration costs. And that's precisely why it's not going to work here, because to pay 1.5 billion rand before the money sees its way into the tarmac is a sin. And society will not accept that. Now, it might be one day that tolling comes in, but it comes in then when society agrees with the pricing, when society agrees that there are alternatives. There are no alternative routes. For people to say you can just use the back roads, the pothole routes with no traffic lights or traffic light problems is a serious issue. There's no formal and proper public transport in place to take up the people that are not going to use the roads because they can't afford them. And this is what a lot of people term as economic apartheid here. You're taking people who cannot afford to drive on these roads and forcing them on the back roads. There are far more efficient ways. The fuel levy, the sad thing is in Joburg's case, Johannesburg's case, or Gauteng's case, is that had you applied 9 cents to the fuel levy back in 2006 when this plan was hatched and added the 5.7 billion rand put in by Treasury last year, you would have raised the capital costs already. Yet they haven't even started tolling. They're 2 years behind their initial
Okay, Wayne, leave
really
it there
tough.
because Andrew needs to talk about this because he's very interested in what you just said with the fuel levy, the 9 cent story. What do you say to that?
But the fuel levy, then fine. It's just general fiscus, and you're creating a government bureaucracy rather than having a focused operation running a road. Whether that's a part of Sanral or whether it's a private sector operator is indistinguishable to me, largely as long as it's operating to a standard with a level of service. I must say that the real concern here for me as an investor is the uncertainty. I mean, the government says, here's the policy, it's a rolled out policy, it's accepted globally. Harvard case studies have been written about Sanral's method of the user pays principle. This is the way the world's going. So we all lend money to Sanral on this basis, and then government policy flip-flops because of domestic or sort of regional political considerations. It creates a higher cost of funding across the economy, which has a much higher cost than people anticipate. I must say that I don't think that the tolling is bad for the credit rating of the country. I think it's good. It takes more debt off the fiscus, off the government's balance sheet, and makes it projects. So I think it's good for the credit rating of the country in disputing Wayne's earlier comment.
You said you, as an investor, which means you've got an alternative agenda from the other two gentlemen. Can you explain your position at Future Growth? As an investor?
We're an investor. We're seeking lower risk or increase returns. Well, if there's political uncertainty in the revenue stream or in the legal structure of a concession, let's say, we have to charge a higher rate to the projects or any projects. We have to charge a higher rate to Transnet and Land Bank and Denel and DBSA and blah, blah, blah. All of them are paying more money now because of the political uncertainty that arises from this political wrangling about something.
Yeah.
Brett, what is the alternative to this? I mean, if you said, yes, we do need to raise some money, we do need to maintain roads, there are more cars on the road every single year, the NUMSA figures come out, and there's another 40 to 45,000 vehicles on the road every single month. That's just new vehicles. So we do have to do something. What would you do?
Well, I mean, our starting point is that the Treasury can pay if we need to have this extra capacity. The Minister of Finance in 2011 indicated that they were going to, the national government was going to pursue an infrastructure-led approach to raise the economy and to create jobs, and that was an indication to us that the fiscus can pay. But as I said, we don't believe we need these roads. I mean, what Wayne was talking about, the cost of tolling, we've estimated that the cost of this project will cost 9 to 10 times to the consumer as what the actual construction costs. So that's a burden on the economy and the consumers, and it's an unfair and skewed burden because it's only some people who have to pay, the rest of us won't have to pay.
Is it too elaborate, this whole scheme that's up in Joburg with Wayne and the team up there, this whole gantry scheme, is that too elaborate, both of you on this one?
It is a costly scheme. It is very difficult to enforce, and we're seeing that in Gauteng. Although I have seen that Sanral have indicated they don't intend to use it in Cape Town. They intend to use a hybrid system.
Look, there's been an allegation Sanral overpaid for that system in Joburg. My understanding was that system is built to take the whole national. It's a scale system. It's designed so it can run all of the e-tolling across all of Sanral's road network. So they probably did overpay, but it's infrastructure.
Okay, very final question now, Wayne, in Johannesburg, has this system been tested overseas? Is this a uniquely South African project, or has it worked overseas in a similar format?
Yeah, it has worked. It's worked in societies where you don't have the problems that we have here. Where you're going to get resistance to the system, where you can clone number plates, where you can run circles around the problem. And so you're not going to have high compliance rates here, but most certainly it works in countries, Singapore and other countries in Europe, where compliance is good, where there's a trust in the system, where the costs are far lower than what they've done here. The administrative costs and the running costs are extremely high, and that's precisely why it's going to have a huge battle to get up and running here.
Okay. I'm sorry, I find the argument that South Africa can't have a world-class system because of some societal dysfunction to be an extraordinarily bad argument. And I mean, we're doing it. We go to India, go to Brazil, go to Russia, where they have supposed democracy. South Africa actually is running very well and very efficiently. We can have world-class systems here, and people will pay their tolls.